I'm gonna go ahead and keep it a buck and say that I would have much rather had Lord of the Rings Total War than Warhammer Total War. There, I said it. I said it. No. I'm just kidding, kind of. But for real, though, this video is something that I wanted to do as an add-on to the original video that I made, where I transitioned this channel into more of a gameplay commentary channel with Total War in the background, as well as Assassin's Creed, Fortnite, whatever game I'm playing. That's kind of what I have in the background. I even changed the name to Sunscape because I am the one and only Sunjetsu, or at least I was. And if you don't know who that is, that's completely fine, because I was a very small Total War YouTuber in the Total War community at around 20,000 subscribers, maybe 25. I don't really actually remember, but this is back in 2012, and I did it for about 3 to 4 years in that community. And even though I was so small, I was still sponsored by Creative Assembly to go to LA, San Francisco, go to tournaments and stuff. So I was a big part of the community at one point and then completely fell off. But if you want to know more about my time on YouTube, I'm going to leave a link in the description below in the top comment to the original video that I made when I made the entire transition, and that explains my relationship with Total War, Creative Assembly, and what happened to Sunjetsu. In today's video, I am going to be talking about something different. It's going to be more of an add-on. So if you are new to the channel and you do like commentary style channels with gameplay in the back, or if you remember that I am Sunjetsu and would like to subscribe, then hit the subscribe button. Help us to get to 10k. I'm almost at 300k on my other channels, so it would be really cool to kind of round both of these off to get to that point and get to those milestones. Thank you guys so much for all your support. Lately, I've been dipping my toes back into Total War, just watching some Total War videos and, you know, Let's Plays and stuff like that from Republic of Play, Pixelated Apollo, Lionheart, just to name a few of the ones that I remember from back in my days on Total War and in the Total War community. But recently I came across a channel that I have not seen in over 5 years, and I've actually talked to in the past and have fond memories of, and that is Volound. Now, Volound was a channel that I kind of aspired to when I was younger, when I was first starting out in Total War YouTube. I liked his commentary style, I liked the way his videos were edited, and it was kind of like an inspirational channel for me, something to strive for, which is completely apparent in this comment that he sent me that somehow he still has, where I was like just starting out YouTube and I was asking him about YouTube advice through the comment section, and oh yeah, I was one of those guys. Yeah, I know better now. But yeah, I looked up to him, and recently I found out that he actually took a hiatus from Total War almost about the same amount of time that I did, except I kind of just let go of my channel completely and abandoned it and started something new. He still has his channel and he's come back to Total War, but for completely different reasons than anybody else, and that is to shed some truth and some light on Total War, on the way the games are made, on the direction the Total War is going, and how arcadey, dumbed down, stripped of all features, and nickel and dime Total War has become. Not to mention the complete abandonment, essentially, of historical accuracy whatsoever. I got into Total War because I loved history, and I liked some fantasy elements in, say, the Third Age mod, but besides that, I liked history, and that's why I played the games. And that's why when Warhammer first came out, it was something that I had to get accustomed to, but at the same time, I was willing to give it a try and dive into that community, even though I did not know anything about Warhammer. And this next bit is something that I didn't touch on the original video that I made about Creative Assembly and Total War, and that is that when I first dove into Warhammer, trying to make videos and look up lore and, you know, just try to talk about it, I was met with a lot of hate and toxicity, and something that I never even imagined in my life I would get in Total War, because everyone's really chill in Total War. But because these new Warhammer fans came in and they knew everything about the history, they were all up to date with the lore, they knew everything about everything. If you try to talk about it and you didn't really know what you're talking about, or you made a few mistakes, then they would come at you for blood. And back then I had a little bit of a thinner skin than I do now, so that was another reason that I kind of, you know, got sizzled out with YouTube, as well as Creative Assembly focusing on channels that talked about Warhammer as opposed to ones that talked about anything else, and they would give them early access, they would promote them everywhere, and they would help grow those channels as opposed to leaving the other ones that don't talk about Warhammer in the dust. And all that led to a community that was extremely toxic, and an event that was extremely toxic for me specifically. So I decided, you know what, time to bail. I saw the writing on the wall. Everything was going fantasy, and now I'm not 100% here for it. And it was years before I touched Warhammer 2, Third Age, Three Kingdoms, and now I've played Troy. So I've played all of them so far, and I would say Three Kingdoms Records mode is by far my favorite out of any of them that I played. Although I have warmed up to Warhammer 2, I know much more about Warhammer lore than I did back in, like, I don't even remember when it came out, back 2014 or something, 2013. I knew little back then. I know way more now, and I actually have a new appreciation for what they've accomplished with Warhammer 2. I like that it's multiple continents. I love the factions, and so Warhammer 2 isn't too bad for me, but there are moments that I'm just like not into it because I like the historical accuracy of it. I like the historical portion of Total War, and that is why I've been playing Three Kingdoms, because for the most part it has a lot of historical stuff in there. That's why I was extremely disappointed with Troy, which I've only played one playthrough with Achilles and beat basically the entire game. It was extremely easy, and even though it had some interesting concepts, this whole myth and legend thing versus history, it just didn't jive with me. You either go one or the other way. You don't kind of split it down the middle because no one's happy. I wasn't happy with Troy Total War. I wasn't happy with it one bit. And so even though I have now a positive outlook on Warhammer as a whole, and I feel like it is a good franchise, it is a good game on its own, I wish I was more excited for this new Warhammer 3, but I'm not. And even though back in the day, we've talked about this for a long time, Warhammer 2 has been on for a long time, but we talked about Warhammer 3 back in the day of what the continents they could add and all these different races, and some of them were kind of like quasi-historical races that I was a little bit interested in. But even back then, it was a stretch for me to be excited for Warhammer because I was never really a Warhammer fan. Now that I appreciate Warhammer 2, I wish that I was more excited for Warhammer 3, but I'm not. And the reason for that is because we are never going to go back to what we had. It feels like that is not where the community wants it to go. The community has been completely hijacked by fantasy and Warhammer, and now Total War community is like night and day. Volound has said it himself on his videos that he has been targeted with harassment from the Warhammer base because of the fact that he has been digging holes into what Warhammer is and the gameplay mechanics and how dumbed down it is compared to the best Total War of all time, which in my opinion is Shogun 2. So with all this realized, I'm not excited for Warhammer 3 because I feel like we're not going to get a historical game that's purely historical. Everything has to be fantasy now. Even Three Kingdoms has a records mode and a romance mode, which in theory I kind of liked if I didn't have a bad taste in my mouth from all the Warhammer stuff, but it even before you begin a campaign forces you to go into romance. Like you have to switch it back to records. That's how much Total War really doesn't give a shit about the historical side. You have to switch to historical side now, and you have to go with the fantasy side first. They don't even give you an option in Troy. Troy is just all fantasy essentially with a little bit of history, if you could call it that. And so I feel like that's just what Warhammer 3 cements. Warhammer has murdered the historical side of Total War. I really don't have any faith that we're going to get Victoria Total War. We're not going to get World War I Total War. We're not going to get Medieval 3 Total War unless it has some sort of fantasy style with dragons and shit and demons and stuff like that. Like, we're not going to be getting any of those games in historical sense. So in my opinion and my point of view, Warhammer killed classical historical Total War. It completely murdered it, it completely butchered it, and we're not going to get it back. And with that comes in more arcadey elements, more reskinned units that you have to pay $8 for, a lot of these different issues that have become a mainstay of Total War and that Shogun 2 is rolling around in its grave for. Even games like Empire and Napoleon, they're rolling around in their graves. I don't ever think that we're going to get a naval battle again. I don't think I'm going to see that again because I don't think that Total War is going in that direction. I really don't think they care about naval battles anymore, and it's just everything's just been stripped and dumbed down, and it takes mods like it always has, but this time specifically to kind of play the Total War game that you want. Right now I'm playing 1212 AD for Attila, which is basically Medieval 3, and it's really fun, you know, but it's not, it's just like the fans had to make that, you know, and I can only play Three Kingdoms if I have all the mods attached to it, because the base Three Kingdoms isn't as fun. It's stripped down, hand-to-hand combat is stripped down, like everything is just a lot shittier. And if you would like to hear all the issues that Total War has as of now, I'm going to leave a full link to the playlist that Volound has made, criticizing and dissecting in much more detail than I ever could the problems that the new Total War games have compared to the old ones, and how broken and basically trash the gameplay mechanics have become. All in all, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that Total War is ready to come out with a brand new historical title that is purely historical. Hopefully they have something in the works. I don't think so. I think that they see the huge amount of profits that they can make with Warhammer 3 specifically. It's going to be the game they're going to be focusing on for the next 10 years more than likely, and that is basically the coffin shut on anything gunpowder or 18th century related, or even bringing back dynamics from the older Total War games in the new Total War. Anyway, here's thankful that I'm not part of the Total War community anymore. This is going to be Sunscape signing off. Take care, guys.